Good morning, my Blue Jay friends, and thanks for being here. You are listening to Blue Jays vs. Them, and I'm your host, Jerry Schwinard. If you're new here, welcome to the show. I hope you'll like it and stick around and become a regular listener. For my returning listeners, thanks for coming back. If you found this podcast from the link on Facebook or Twitter, or whatever podcast provider you're listening from, I want to thank you for tuning in. You can also find me on the website at www.bluejaysversusthem.ca. That's bluejaysvsthem.ca. You'll also find my social media links on the website. In this episode, we will be discussing making the jump to YouTube, the fourth game versus the New York Yankees, weekend series versus Baltimore, the first three games in Tampa and a preview of Game 4, the 50-50 draw of the remaining early bird prizes for May, and the May Grand Prize jackpot. In Blue Jays history, we'll take a look at the National League Central Division. I'll preview our series and history for the weekend series in Minnesota versus the Twins. I'll provide a preview and our history with the Milwaukee Brewers. And finally, a preview of next week's episode and some closing remarks. As you may or may not have noticed, in the past couple weeks, this show is now available on YouTube. I want to thank my brother for rebranding his YouTube channel to Blue Jays vs. Them. Initially, I dismissed going to YouTube as it presents a different medium that I wasn't sure I want to use, video. I thought I would need new creative software for video creation and editing in order to take full advantage of the video platform. Right now, I'm still learning how to better adapt the show for YouTube. Previously, I was just utilizing the Blue Jays vs. Them bird graphic. On my website, I would attach different pictures taken from various games I attended. I should have been using those images when I uploaded the show to Buzzsprout. But I didn't consider visual variety to associate different episodes. I was thinking of brand recognition for the show. There are, of course, podcasts on YouTube that don't utilize the full visual medium of YouTube. It's just the platform to present the show. One example is a good friend of mine on Twitter, Chanel, and her co-hosts Molly and Jesse. They do a wonderful hockey podcast that doesn't take itself too seriously called This Hockey Pod. I'll leave a link in the description. Why I mention them is that although they don't use video, they do use different images related to the subject for each episode, something I'll be taking creative cues from. Between my brother and I, we will upload past episodes and the sound bites created on Buzzsprout and, if possible, use different pictures rather than the bird logo. Going forward, I'll at least use a variety of images I use on the website until I am more capable of video creation. So, look for the show on YouTube. I'll leave a link in the description. Each new episode will be posted there, and as time permits, the past catalog of episodes will also be uploaded. Last Thursday, the Blue Jays completed their 4-game series versus the Yankees. The Yankees took a 2-0 lead in the top of the first off of a leadoff single and a home run by Aaron Judge. Jose Barrios had a good game. He went 6 2/3, only allowing 3 runs off 6 hits, only 1 home run and 1 walk, striking out 8. Bo Bichette hit his 9th home run in the first, going 3 for 4 on the day. The Yankees take 3 of the 4 games, winning 4-2, out-hitting the Blue Jays 9-6. We won't see the Yankees until September 19th when the Jays head to the Bronx for 3 games. Last Friday, the Blue Jays wrapped up their homestand with their first meeting versus the Baltimore Orioles. Prior to the season, I had predicted a 3-game sweep over the Orioles based on the history of dominance by the Blue Jays. In last week's episode, I predicted the Blue Jays to take 2 of the 3 games. Yusei Kikuchi took the mound for Game 1 and was charged with 3 runs off 3 hits. He walked 4 batters while striking out only 3 over his 4 2/3 innings. The otherwise reliable Eric Swanson allowed a 1-out, 2-run homer in the top of the 9th, only pitching 2/3 of an inning. Baltimore took the first game 6-2, even though the Jays out-hit the O's 8-7. The difference came in home runs, none for Toronto and 3 for Baltimore. Saturday, Alek Manoah got the start, managing 5 2/3 innings. He gave up 6 hits, allowing only 2 runs, striking out 5 batters, with only 1 walk. Jordan Romano gave up a 3-run homer after replacing Eric Swanson with 2 out and 2 on to tie the game at 5. Baltimore scored 1 run in the 10th, with the Jays failing to score in the bottom half. The story of this game isn't the blown lead in the 8th, but the 2 for 15 with runners in scoring position. failing to get the big hit. The Orioles take the second game in extras 6-5, marginally out-hitting Toronto 11-10. Sunday, the Jays wrapped up the series, hoping to salvage a 5-5 homestand and avoid a 3-game sweep. Kevin Gausman took the mound, pitching 8 complete innings, only allowing 2 runs in the third inning. Giving up only 6 hits and striking out 4, he did allow 2 walks. Nate Pearson pitched a scoreless inning, which the Jays also failed to score. Both teams scored the ghost runner from second in the 10th inning. Garcia came in to pitch the 11th, giving up 3 one-out singles and a 2-out double, giving the O's a 5-run inning. Anthony Bass came in to record the 3rd out. Once again, the pitching wasn't the story. It was a 3 for 16 with runners in scoring position, leaving 12 on base. Over the 3 games, Toronto went 6 for 38 with runners in scoring position, leaving 28 runners on base. The Orioles completed the sweep, winning 8-3, only out-hitting Toronto 13-12. The Jays will next see Baltimore for 3 games in Camden Yards beginning June 13th. Before the season, I predicted a 3-1 series loss in Tropicana Field. Last week, feeling optimistic, I suggested a 2-2 split with a nice possibility of a 3-1 series win. Well, that last part won't happen. Chris Bassett took a 27-inning scoreless streak into the first game. Although he would pitch 7 innings, he would be charged with 6 runs, only 2 earned on 7 hits. 3 of those hits were for home runs. The Rays broke up the scoreless streak in the second inning off a 2-out catching error by Guerrero, followed by a 2-run homer to take a 3-0 lead. Guerrero would commit his second error in the 3rd inning on a throw to Bassett covering first. Once again, the Blue Jays offense struggled, going 2 for 7, leaving 7 runners on base. Merrifield went 2 for 4 with a 2-run homer in the 4th. Varsho added a solo shot in the 9th. Tampa extends the Blue Jays' losing streak to 5 games, winning 6-4, even though Toronto out-hit the Rays 11-7. 3 home runs by Tampa Bay and only 2 by the Blue Jays, and the 2 errors by Guerrero were the difference. Jose Barrios pitched 7 strong, allowing 1 run on 5 hits, including a leadoff homer in the 5th. Toronto's offense came to life with 3 straight singles to start the game. Springer went 4 for 5, including leading off the 3rd with a solo shot. With the score 10-1 going into the 8th inning, Tampa would use position players Luke Raley and Christian Bethancourt to close out the game. Raley would give up a grand slam to Guerrero and a 2-run shot to Chapman. Jensen hit a 2-run homer off Bethancourt before Kevin Kiermaier lined out to end the 9th inning. The Jays went 9 for 14 with runners in scoring position, only leaving 7 runners on base, although those numbers probably are skewed since 2 position players pitched the last 2 innings. The Blue Jays end their losing streak with an explosive offensive output, winning 20-1, out-hitting Tampa 27-6 with 4 home runs. Yusei Kikuchi took the mound on Wednesday, and although he pitched well, striking out 5 and walking only 2 in 5 innings, he gave up 5 runs on 8 hits, including 2 home runs, both solo shots in the 2nd. Bo Bichette went 2 for 4, and Biggio hit a pinch hit home run to lead off the 8th inning. Tampa Bay won 7-3, out-hitting the Jays 12-8. The Blue Jays will send Alek Manoah to the mound with his 1-4 record into the final game, hoping to get a split with a series win. The Rays will send Zach Eflin to the mound, currently 6-1 with a 3.45 ERA and 8 starts. After tonight's game, the Blue Jays won't see the Rays until they return to Tropicana Field for a weekend series beginning September 22nd. The grand prize jackpot for the homestand of May 12th to 21st has been drawn, and the winning number is an in-stadium ticket purchase. Please make sure you check your tickets on jayscare5050.com. The estimated value is $1.186 million. I'll leave a link in the description. Early bird prizes for the May 22nd to June 1st have already started. The first early bird prize of $1,500 in cash has already been drawn. Saturday, May 27th, a Matt Chapman replica jersey. On Tuesday, May 30th is for 4 in the action seats. Wednesday, May 31st is for a $250 gift card for the keg, and Thursday, June 1st is the grand prize jackpot, currently valued at $27,850. Tickets will close on 10 p.m. on June 1st. Next week, I'll provide an update on the grand prize. Last week, I revealed that in the NL West, the Jays will have an even home and away balance with all but Colorado Rockies. With them having seen the Jays play in Coors Field 15 times, with the Rockies only playing 9 games in Toronto. This week, we'll take a look at the slightly complicated National League Central. The Blue Jays have played teams from the NL Central a total of 105 times, playing host to 54 games and being hosted 51 times. After this season, things will be evenly split with 60 games apiece. Before Houston was in the NL Central, they were in the NL West, but we never played them until they moved to the Central. While in the NL Central, the Blue Jays had only played them 6 times, 3 in Houston and 3 at home, having been swept in Houston and losing 2 of the 3 in Toronto. Also forming up the NL Central from the West was the Cincinnati Reds. Prior to the move to create the Central, the Blue Jays and Reds had never met. Since interleague play began including the Central and West divisions, the Blue Jays and Reds have since met 21 times. Toronto hosted 12 times, and the Reds have hosted 9 times. With 3 games scheduled in Cincinnati this season, that will even up to 12 and 12. The Cubs, Pirates, and Cardinals all came from the NL East. Yeah, I was a little surprised with the Cardinals too. Well, in the NL East, the Jays had never faced any of them. Again, interleague play didn't begin till after the Central divisions were formed. The Blue Jays hosted the Cubs 12 of the 18 games, leaving only 6 games being played at Wrigley Field. With 3 games scheduled in Toronto this season, we'll have hosted the Cubs 15 times. Expect the next few season matchups to be in Wrigley Field. We've also played the Pirates 21 times, including 3 earlier this season. Even though we played them in Pittsburgh last season, the Jays returned to Pittsburgh this year, now having played there 12 times and only hosting the Pirates for 9 games. Expect the Bucks to be visiting Rogers Center next season. The Cardinals have played 11 of the 25 matches against the Jays in Toronto. The Blue Jays have been to St. Louis 14 times, including 3 to open the 2023 season. That just leaves the Milwaukee Brewers. Since jumping from the American League, the Jays and Brewers have only met 20 times. Milwaukee has hosted 13 of those games to Toronto's 7. With 3 games scheduled later this month, the split will be at 10 and 13. I'd expect the Brew Crew to be in town next year as well. Although, as a division, the games will be evenly split after this season, splits with individual teams are still offset, needing to host 3 games against the Pirates, Cardinals, and Brewers each. We also host 7 home games to the Cubs. Next week, we'll finish off our journey through the National League with the East. Starting Friday, the Blue Jays will wrap up their 7-game road trip at Target Field to play the Twins. Our overall record versus Minnesota after 2022 is 230 to 180. That's exactly 50 games over 500 or a .561 win percentage. Since moving from the AL West to form the Central, the two teams have met 216 times. Toronto holds a 126 to 90 game advantage. They have played 209 times in Minnesota, and more specifically at Target Field only 43 times since it opened in 2010. The Blue Jays' record at Target Field is 27 and 16. Since 2017, the Blue Jays are 11 and 8. In 4 of the last 5 seasons, Toronto has played 4-game series there, splitting 3 of them and winning 3-1. The 3-game series was a 2-1 series win for the Jays. Our projected starters are Kevin Gausman, Chris Bassett, and Jose Barrios. In my preseason predictions, I had the Jays winning 2 of the 3 games. The Blue Jays will have a day off on Monday and return home for a 3-game series starting Tuesday versus the Milwaukee Brewers. Once upon a time, the Brewers kicked sand in the Blue Jays' faces as part of the American League East. While they were part of the AL East, the two teams have met 222 times, and the Brew Crew owned a 127 to 95 record versus the Jays, for an overall winning percentage for Toronto of .428 or 32 games below 500. Things didn't improve when they moved to form the Central. After 45 games, Toronto had only managed 19 wins, losing 26 times. Only -7 games, but the win percentage dropped to .422. Since making the jump to the National League, the teams have only met 20 times, Milwaukee winning 12 times, lowering our win percentage to .400. Overall, the Brewers own a 43-game over 500 advantage, with Toronto only holding a .425 win percentage. The last 2 seasons they met, the two teams split a 2-game home and away series, winning both at home in 2017. And last season, Milwaukee took 2 of the 3 in Toronto. Our projected starting pitchers for the series are Kikuchi, Manoah, and Gausman. I'll stick with my preseason predictions of a 2-1 series loss. That should do it for this episode. Join me next Thursday as I review the 4th game versus the Rays. I'll also review the weekend series versus the Twins to wrap up our 7-game road trip, and finally we'll take a look at the first 2 games versus the Brewers. I will provide an update for the May jackpot for the Blue Jays Care 50-50 draw. In Blue Jays history, I'll cover our history with the National League East Division. I intended to include a segment here on showboating versus celebrating on the base pass, but I'll include that next week. Finally, we will preview the weekend series in New York, this time at Citi Field to play the Mets, and our return home to face the Houston Astros. While I've given you my predictions for the next 2 series, why not drop a comment with your predictions? What are your thoughts on snapping out of the 5-game losing streak with a 20-1 win in the Trop? Look for the show on YouTube and drop a like and subscribe. As always, I've been your humble host, Jerry Schwinard, and you've been listening to Blue Jays vs. Them. Once again, I want to thank you for spending your time with me. Join me next Thursday and every Thursday of the regular season. Until then, take care of yourself and take care of your loved ones. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and let's go Blue Jays, let's go. Bye for now.